Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tearing open the blueprint of a really specialized machine,
Oh, yeah.
the BOSS ML2 metal core pedal. And this isn't just another distortion box.
No, at all.
This is an analog weapon built for one thing, really,
Yeah.
extreme high-speed aggression.
It's a fascinating piece of engineering, I think. When it came out, it wasn't trying to be, versatile or vintage.
Right.
It was a very narrow, very explicit statement about where heavy music was going. It had to deliver just unprecedented saturation and tightness.
And that's our mission today. We want to understand the technical nuts and bolts of how this pedal from 2007 achieved that very specific extreme high-gain analog sound.
And why it's still a go-to for some players.
Exactly. Why do people who need that instant modern metal tone still reach for it, especially when you stack it up against all the other famous distortion pedals out there?
Well, you're talking about a pedal released right in the heart of the metalcore boom.
Perfect time for it.
It was aimed specifically at genres like djent and all the rapid-fire down-tuned stuff that was happening. Its core promise was simple: sonic destruction that stays completely controlled.
Okay, when you say full-frequency destruction,
Yeah.
what are we actually talking about tonally? Because, lots of pedals are high gain,
Sure.
but the ML2 seemed to promise something different.
It guarantees a few specific things that really define that modern metal sound. First, you get brutal saturation, of course.
Of course.
But critically, it has this aggressive focus in the upper mid-range. That's what lets it just slice through a really dense mix.
Okay.
And then there's its exceptional handling of the low end. It can manage a low B, even a low A tuning without just turning into mud.
Which is the classic problem.
It is. So that combination gave it that searing bite.
So let's set the stage a bit, because I think understanding guitar production in 2007 is key to why this pedal even exists.
All that context.
Yeah. Why did BOSS feel the need to release something this focused right at that moment?
Well, the late 2000s were just dominated by these super polished, tight, percussive metal productions.
Like Killswitch Engage, that kind of thing.
Exactly, or early Periphery. Engineers in the studio, they were constantly stacking overdrive pedals in front of high-gain amps just to get that tightness.
To cut the flat.
To cut the flat, yeah. They were getting rid of that low-end mush before the signal even hit the amp's preamp.
So guitarists wanted a pedal that could give them that super compressed, studio-ready sound all by itself.
That's it. They were demanding fast, percussive tones and a huge but defined low end for these crazy drop tunings. The ML2 was BOSS's direct answer to that. It was meant to be the single pedal solution.
Okay, so we absolutely have to talk about the MT2 Metal Zone.
The elephant in the room.
For so many people, that is the BOSS distortion pedal. So how does the ML2 carve out its own space when its older brother basically owned that whole high-gain world?
And that is the distinction everyone needs to get. The Metal Zone, the MT2, is primarily an EQ platform.
An EQ platform.
Yes. It's famous for its semi-parametric mid-range controls. They give you huge versatility. You can scoop the mids, you can boost them.
You can do anything.
It's designed for sculpting.
So the MT2 gives you the clay and the tools, but you have to be the sculptor.
Precisely. The ML2, on the other hand, is about pure immediate aggression.
Oh, okay.
Its control set is way simpler, but its internal voicing is already, pre-scooped and inherently modern. The goal wasn't flexibility.
It was impact.
It was focused, instantaneous, explosive impact, tuned for rhythm guitar in a modern mix. You don't spend time dialing mud out because the pedal already engineered the mud out for you.
That distinction sculpting versus pre-voiced aggression, that's huge. So the goal wasn't just to be loud. It was about managing speed and articulation.
That's where the tech gets really fascinating. They aim for three things: a fast, transient response, minimal mud, and a focused, low-end punch.
What do you mean by fast, transient response?
It means the attack of your pick or your palm mute is just lightning fast and clear. There's no lag, no sonic sag that you might get from an older, looser distortion circuit. The ML2 delivers that pick attack instantly, which is, it's non-negotiable for tight, fast, modern riffs.
And that leads us right into the architecture.
Yeah.
How did they build the engine for that insane level of controlled gain?
Well, it's a fully analog, multi-stage distortion circuit. That's the traditional BOSS way, but with some modern tweaks.
Okay.
The sheer amount of saturation comes from cascading amplifier sections. Basically, the signal gets amplified and clipped over and over in several stages.
So they're just pushing the signal incredibly hard.
Yeah.
How do they stop it from turning into complete mush?
And that's the secret sauce for rhythm players. They built in these aggressive, tight, pre-filtering circuits.
The pre-filtering.
Yes. So before the signal even hits the main distortion stages, those filters cut very specific low-mid frequencies.
Mud frequencies.
The mud frequencies, yeah, the stuff that causes flub. It's specifically done to make palm mutes and chugging sound super controlled.
So it's not just that the tone is tight. The pedal is actively enforcing that tightness by taking out the problem frequencies before they even get clipped.
Absolutely. The articulation is just baked right in. And on top of that, they tailored the high-end clipping differently. The goal was clarity and sizzle, even at max gain.
So chords don't just blur together.
Right, so those high strings on chords still ring out with some definition. It uses a buffered bypass, which is typical for BiSS, but yeah, the real magic is when it's on.
So if we put all that together, what's the total sonic fingerprint of this thing?
It's insane gain, almost to the point of fuzz at maximum settings. But the feel is hyper-focused and compressed. You get a tight low end, a really fast attack, and that very specific modern EQ curve.
Which is?
Severely scooped in the lower mids to kill the mud, but then heavily boosted in the upper mids and highs to keep that bite and presence.
It sounds like it's designed to sound like a finished mixed track, not just an amp in a room.
That's a perfect way to put it.
That makes so much sense for the genre. Okay, let's dig into the 4 controls. Level, low, high, and dist. They seem simple, but you said they're tailored?
They are. Let's start with the dist control, the gain. It has this massive usable range, but the sweet spots are really specialized.
Okay.
At its minimum settings, you get a sharp, defined, almost like a tightly gated thrash tone. But as you move it past noon,
That's the sweet spot.
that's the metalcore rhythm sweet spot, that dense, saturated, but still articulate chug tone.
And what happens if you just dime it? You push that dist knob all the way.
You enter the zone of extreme compression and saturation that really earns the metalcore name. The sources say this setting actually gets close to a sort of fez-like density.
Really?
Yeah, the signal is so clipped and sustained that it loses some pick definition, but you get maximum weight and sustain. It's almost too much gain, but it's there if you want it.
Wild. Okay, let's talk about the EQ, especially that low control. Why is that knob so critical for like 7 and 8 string guitars?
Yeah. Because of the duality it offers. If you're playing a 6-string in drop C and you boost the low, you add this massive chest-thumping chunk.
Right, for the heavy riffs.
Exactly. But if you're playing a 7 or 8-string, especially for those gent-style riffs where you need max clarity,
You've got it.
you actually cut the low.
So cutting the low is the anti-mud setting. It works with that pre-filtering to make the notes defined instead of boomy.
Yes, exactly. It sharpens the palm mute into a laser beam instead of a blur. It's an essential tool for adapting the pedal to your tuning.
And the high control. Is that just adding treble, or is it more specific?
It's your control over the slicing attack and presence. Boosting the high gives you that sizzle you need for fast alternate picking and make sure your attack doesn't get lost.
You'd need that if you're playing through a dark amp, I imagine.
Absolutely. But if you roll the high control back, you don't suddenly get like a classic rock sound, do you?
No. The core architecture is still in charge.
Right.
Cutting the high doesn't make it a blues pedal. It just pulls back the modern sizzle. You get maybe a darker, more classic thrash tone, or even a slow, dense doom sound.
It's always aggressive.
Always. Just maybe a little less bright. So let's connect this back to the player. Who is this pedal really for, and where does it shine today?
If you are playing chug-heavy rhythm parts, especially on guitars tuned to drop B, drop A, or any extended range, this pedal is your one-stop shop.
It takes away the need for stacking pedals.
Completely. It eliminates that hassle of putting a tube screamer in front to tighten the low end. The tightening is built in. And it's also super popular for home recordists.
Why is that?
Because if you're using clean modeling amps or flat response cab sims, this pedal provides the entire high-gain personality you need instantly.
You mentioned a weird side use earlier. Using this for bass guitar, how does that work?
It's a great trick for a really gritty, defined metal bass tone, the kind that cuts through with texture, not just low-end boom.
So you have to be careful with the EQ.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
You cut the low control way down to prevent it from getting muddy, and then you boost the high aggressively to bring out that grinding distortion texture. It places the bass higher in the mix, frequency-wise.
Okay, let's zoom out. Every specialized piece of gear has its trade-offs. What are the undeniable pros that made the ML2 a legend, and what are the big caveats people need to know about?
On the plus side, its status is secure because it is one of the highest gain analog pedals BOSS has ever made. The saturation is just immense.
Yeah.
It offers incredible definition for extended range guitars, which was the whole point. And it's just so much simpler to dial in than the Metal Zone.
Instant gratification.
Instant, brutal gratification.
But with that much focus, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Doesn't all that aggressive filtering and compression make it sound a bit sterile
Right.
or stiff?
And that is precisely the biggest caveat. The number one trade-off is versatility. This is a metal-only pedal. Full stop. If you try to dial it back for classic rock or blues or even a nuanced hard rock tone, you're just going to be frustrated. It lives in that hyper-saturated modern world.
It's like buying a drag racer to run errands.
Exactly. It does one thing perfectly, and another big thing is the compression. At extreme settings, it gets very, very heavy.
So it feels less dynamic.
It can, yeah. It can feel less dynamic. The difference between hitting the strings softly and hitting them hard, it doesn't change the output level that much, which some players find really restrictive.
And then there's just the noise. That's just a reality of pushing analog circuits this hard.
It's a law of physics. When you cascade gain stages that aggressively, the noise floor comes up with it. You can use a noise gate, and most players do.
But it's there.
But it's an unavoidable part of the package, especially with the disc knob maxed out. And if you push the high control too much in front of a bright amp, it can get really piercing.
So this whole deep dive, it really clarifies that the ML2 isn't just a high-gain pedal. It's a dedicated engine designed to solve a very specific production problem from the late 2000s.
A weapon for destruction, yeah, but built around speed and articulation.
It really is the pedals for players who just said, look, I don't want to mess with clean boost. I don't want to mess with external EQs.
I want maximum aggression and maximum tightness right now.
Yeah. And for that exact player,
Yeah,
it's still dominant.
it is.
So the ultimate takeaway is that design intent we talked about, where the MT2 was a flexible canvas.
The ML2 was a sledgehammer. Immediate, non-negotiable metal power, engineered from the ground up to be fast and mud-free.
And that engineering choice to filter the mud out before the gain stage,
Yeah.
that leaves us with a final thought to chew on.
Mm.
Given how much modern metal tone now relies on digital profiling and modeling, which often captures the exact sound of pedals like the ML2,
Right.
how much does the tightness of a modern metal tone today rely on a dedicated analog circuit like this versus just the advanced noise reduction and EQ shaping we can now do inside modern digital modelers?
It really makes you think about where the heavy lifting is being done in the signal chain now, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Thank you for diving deep with us into the BOSS ML2 Metal Corp. We'll see you next time.